first of all, welcome, Miss Carter. Thank you for joining me. I'm really excited to hear what you're going to say about a little bit about you and why you're running. So let's start out with that. Tell us a little bit about you and why you've decided to put all this time and effort into running for school board.
Right. So my name is Natalie Carter. I am running for board trustee position 7. I have 3 amazing students in the district, Camden, Roman, and Aiden. They are all 2 middle schoolers and 1 kindergartner. Let me rephrase that. I am a nurse practitioner by trade. However, for the past several years, I've decided to take a break from my practice and focus on, raising my children and being more present in, their academic careers. I've been married to Marcus Carter for the last 17, almost 18 years. And we are loving our community. We love being here. We love our kids' schools and having them a part of this community. And one of the reasons why I am running for Humble ISD Board Trustee position 7 is this. I've noticed that since I've taken a step away from my practice and became more engaged and involved in their education by being more present, anywhere from being a room parent to a PTO president, I've noticed that it significantly impacted them in a positive way. Their grades, their morale, just their desire to attend school. And they're excited that I'm there. And so I've not only noticed that for my children, but I've started noticing it for their friends and the school as a whole. When I'm able to be there and encourage the teachers and just, and the staff and the bus drivers, cafeteria personnel, everyone, it just seemed to spur positive results. So I thought that it would be best for me to take my talents to the next level and bring that same enthusiasm and that same motivation and that same drive and passion to help our students succeed to the school board. And that's where I am now.
Thank you so much for that. So let's dive right into a few topics that we're hearing about all the time. I know you're out there in the community, you're likely hearing the same things I'm hearing. So let's start off with the general topic of safety. And when we think about safety, yes, we're talking about external threats. We've seen the news stories even very recently and some that are close to home. But also we're talking about bullying and school fighting. So tell me a little bit about kind of your thoughts in that area. What are we doing? What should we do? How is the school district doing in this area? And if it was up to you, what would we be doing to kind of address some of these issues and worries?
Well, first and foremost, you and I are both parents, just like many of the parents that are going to tune in and watch this amazing interview. And I appreciate you doing this. I got to pause real quick and tell you thank you again for your amazing work, engaging the community, being a voice of the voiceless, and really trying to amplify things in a fair manner. I appreciate you
Thank you. I
tremendously.
appreciate that.
And so for me, we all want our children to be safe. That's our goal. We want our children to be in a safe, secure environment where they can learn, grow, and thrive. So I know that's everyone's priority. However, there's differing opinions on how do we approach that. But I would be remiss not to say that school safety is not just limited on hardening the exterior of our schools and preventing it from active shooter situations. School safety is also watching our children cross the crosswalk safely, making sure that everyone's adhering to the speed limits, right? Also, wearing helmets when they're riding the bike, right? Also, making sure our parking lots are safe, because that's where most of these events are happening, not necessarily intruders going around in the classrooms with an AR-15, but there's also a lot of parking lot incidents and fights and things that spill over outside of the school as well. Securing the entire perimeter of the school is super important. Making sure our children are safe from cybersecurity issues, correct? Because that's school safety as well. So just broadening our perspective on security as a whole, in addition to recognizing the very real threat of potentially having, a horrific event that we've seen in the news recently. And so my goal is to bring school safety in its entirety. Let's take a look at it as a whole. And we definitely need to address multiple facets of school safety and address them hard, because again, students thrive in a safe, structured environment. Currently, I think what we're doing is we're on the right track. We're hardening the exterior of the schools as best as we can without necessarily taking away the sanctity of school, right? We don't want to walk in with metal detectors and all that stuff and be overwhelmed and inundated with obvious things that'll keep that potential or that thing in the back of our brains that might happen. So we have to make sure we have all this. No, we still want to go within reason, right? And then we also need to really go to the root of the problem. Mental health is a big deal, not only with adults, but with children. Our children have had to overcome enormous obstacles, from Hurricane Harvey to a pandemic to the Winter Storm Uri, a bunch of cataclysmic events sprinkled in between, that they have been traumatized as well, and it's impacting their mental health. So we definitely need to go and attack that mental health aspect, encouraging more counselors at our schools so we can in fact address these issues and identify potential threats to safety as a whole.
So tell me a little bit about you really honed in on mental health there. So with that being kind of, it sounds like a little bit of the bedrock of your thought process around this area. What would you like to see done? Or maybe it's already happening and you think we're on the right track, but what would you like to see done in that area?
First and foremost, I want to tell people my background. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've also been a behavioral health advocate as well, where I actually flew out to Nationwide Children's Hospital out in Columbus, Ohio, where I visited the first ever behavioral health center built specifically for pediatric patients. So this is near and dear to my heart. It's an on our sleeves movement, and I have been kind of pioneering and just being on this forefront, championing behavioral health in children for a very long time. So with that being said, is there's multiple factors, just increasing the counselors in our schools, as well as increasing community resource and access to community resources that parents can actually tap into, be it on a sliding scale, meaning that some parents that are able to pay for it out of pocket or insurance premiums, or even free resources where parents can actually go and seek counseling and behavioral health services for their students. I think it's critical, not only for our students, but also for our teachers and our faculty, staff, and even open it up to parents and family counseling. It is crucial that we address mental health issues, be it in the family, be it in the student, be it in the community, so we can all recognize the importance of how mental health impacts the community as a whole and school safety as well. And so just recognizing and destigmatizing it is super important, because mental health is impacts your health, period.
All right. So thank you for that. Talking about safety. Let's get into a little bit of some of the things that we're hearing out there with potential solutions. I'd love to get your thoughts on some of these. So there's several candidates that have referred to programs that exist, for example, in Huffman ISD, where they've got a program where some of the staff is trained to be carrying some sort of firearm I understand it to be a deterrent, but also a last resort, in the case of the worst case scenario. So, what are your thoughts on that? Is that something you support, don't support, and why or why not?
I don't support that, because actually the latest research is showing that the number one killer of school-aged children are guns. So for me as a nurse practitioner, I often diagnose and treated various conditions, right? And let's say for example, heart disease. I would often, encourage my patients, yeah, you need to stay away from those fatty foods, because those are the number one indicators of, your life expectancy. So same approach with children. I'm going to keep away the number one thing that's taking away your life, and that's guns. So that is not the solution, in my opinion. My opinion is this: we definitely need to hone in on the behavior and mental health aspects of this, and really focus in on that, and that'll tackle the root of the problem. Just like a weed, the weed will grow back if you just pull it out at the surface area, but you got to attack that root. And to get to the root of this issue, not only school wide, but kind of community wide, nationwide, globally, is to really attack the root and acknowledge the impacts of mental health that it has on people's responses and behaviors.
Okay. So let's talk about one other thing that we hear a lot about, which is the hardening of the actual school. You touched on that in your answer, and there's a lot of viewpoints on this. Some say we should have metal detectors at every door of every school. Some say we need to have armed veterans standing outside to really harden it. The school district has talked about, and it was in the news, ballistic shields. What are your thoughts on some of those things? Are they good? Do you support them? Why or why not in those areas?
I think those are very great approaches. However, I'm really concerned with us, in our attempts to harden the school, that we actually no longer it's no longer a school. Does that make sense? And so for me, I would love to see some obvious deterrents that are not obvious deterrents, if that makes sense. Like, of course, we can reinforce the glass with various plexiglass that will withstand any type of not only hurricane force winds, but also like potential assault rifle type bullets to prevent it from actually going into the building. Maybe even, I don't know if anyone's ever noticed those balls in front of Target. Those, those big red balls, those are actually security deterrents from preventing somebody from driving into a vehicle into Target. So something like that, that's just so not so obvious that we can paint and we can make it super fun for the students to come up to. That would be a great deterrent as well. Obviously, we do have the security cameras and measures and the locking of the doors and the vestibules, things of that nature that the district's already doing. But there are things that we can improve on and harden that isn't obvious to the naked eye, if that makes sense. And that would be my approach, because I don't want to remind my students that, hey, well, we have to do this because we want, in case somebody tries to shoot up your school. That is not the approach that we should take. We really want to still preserve the sanctity of school and the environment without having this constant reminder of, oh, this is here in the event of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So again, looking into alternatives that does not distort the sanctity of the school environment, I'm always in favor of.
Got it. Got it. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate you taking all the time we took to talk about that. Let's pivot a little bit to the next topic. And we've heard a lot about this. It's come up at both candidate forums that you attended both of them, talking about the concern of some of our community around books that they would describe as inappropriate or maybe even harmful, that's available in our school libraries, and we're hearing a lot of different ideas. We've heard Mr. Holmes, for example, talked about maybe limiting what our options are with the publishers, grievance options. We've heard all kinds of things. So first of all, what are kind of your thoughts on that topic with these books that are out there? What are your thoughts on the community, the section of the community that's concerned about it? I just love to kind of hear. Let's start high level. What are your thoughts as I even approach this topic?
My thought is this. I believe that parents have the right to determine what's appropriate for their child. However, they do not have the right to apply that principle to every child in the district. As a parent, I know what's best for my child, and we all want to instill the values that we have and our beliefs into our students. Therefore, I don't think it's appropriate for me to overstep my bounds and try to do that for other families. I just don't think that's appropriate. As for right now, I do believe that the district has inserted the appropriate language in the policy pertaining to harmful materials, and I support that wholeheartedly. Um, the statute's clear that we cannot have anything of prurience or any type of harmful or irredeemable educational value in our libraries. And so with this language inserted into our policy, that gives the librarians a firm guideline to follow. So I think right now this point is actually belabored at this point. I think that the majority of our district is currently in favor and in line with the current policy. And on it, quite frankly, I would hope that us as a community would move on beyond this topic, since it has been addressed and it continues to be addressed, and everyone's made aware of it. I am in favor of parents being able to go onto the Home Access Center and limiting or restricting access to various books if need be. I would also encourage parents to, hey, if you want to talk to the librarian and get a sense of what's in the library, please, by all means. That's part of the parent involvement and community engagement that I'm so passionate about. So from that standpoint, I think we are doing a great job, and we will continue to do a good job. And there is a process in place in the event that parents do have concerns with some of the materials that are still in the libraries that they can follow.
Okay, and so I want to make sure I understand. As of right now, you're saying the process is in place is good. There's really no improvements to be made in this area. Let's keep going. Let's move on. Am I understanding you correctly? Hopefully,
You
there.
are understanding me correct, because the thing is this: we cannot allow subjective censorship to overtake objective an objective standpoint. What I mean by that is this: what's sensitive to me might not be sensitive to you. And that's where subjective censorship is a slippery slope. And it has the potential to not only, it could go beyond just a certain amount of types of material. You could start, if a book has a curse word, oh, that's we have to take that out. And we run the risk of removing our library from hundreds and hundreds of books based off of subjective censorship. So right now, what we're doing is a good policy that's in place. I recognize the passion and the beliefs of others, and they have every right to restrict books and material that are not, that they don't see appropriate for their students. For me, I as a parent would like to make the decision for my student as well. As long as the books that are in the library does not meet the threshold, or if it meets the threshold that of the law saying that it's harmful materials, it should not be in there, I am in 100% support of removal of those books. However, if it doesn't meet the threshold set forth by the penal code, the books are there.
So thank you for that. Now, before I move on, because I do have a couple other topics I want to talk to you about, anything that I didn't ask about when it comes to books, libraries that you want to make sure you mention before we go forward?
Right. I think we just need to make sure that we use the terminology correctly. Pornographic materials and pornography, those terms are incorrectly being used, and they're used interchangeably. What the statute's clearly describing is harmful materials, and words matter. Okay. And so I really want to clarify, when I'm stating harmful materials, that is stating the actual definition and the penal code in which we, if elected as board trustees, would be obligated to govern by. And so that is extremely important, because I don't want the fact that I'm not using certain terms or buzzwords to be misinterpreted as I am in support of said items. And that's not the case.
Got it. Okay. All right. So thank you for that. We've covered a couple big topics already. I want to go to the one that I'm very passionate about, which is the relationship between the school district and the community. So I'm talking the board and the admin and teachers and staff and parents. Sometimes, I'll be honest, I get a little disheartened. I feel like we're a little disconnected. We're living in separate realities. So let's start off. You're running for the school board. And so how do you feel about the culture as far as the relationship between the school board and the community? And how can it improve if it can?
So, as I stated in my forum opening statement, I feel like we are divided as a community on multiple fronts. And that is tough for me to see, because I love everyone. I'm a people person. I'm like, we could agree to disagree, but we're going to go over coffee. Let's go have coffee and talk about the stuff that we love together. And I'm just that type of person that it's okay to disagree. And I'm longing for the days for where we can go beyond our disagreements and still see, what we have in common. And so for me, I agree with you, Oscar. I want those days back. I want it to be like where we are a team. It's not an us versus them. And so what it's going to take are people to just call this behavior out, say like, hey, we're divided right now. What can we do to unite us? Right? You like ice cream, I like ice cream. Great. But if we disagree on different flavors, it's okay. You understand what I'm saying? And so for me, I think it's important for us to recognize that we can agree to disagree, but we have far more in common than we do different. And for example, do you want what's best for my child? Or you want what's best for your child?
Yes, to both.
Yes. And my child, yes, too. And I think you as a parent have the right to decide that for your child, as well as me as me being a parent, to decide that. So we have more in common. We all want what's best for our children. We all want to instill amazing values and beliefs that we hold near and dear to our hearts to our children. And that's it. That's a big commonality. What those values are may differ, but that doesn't mean that one is more right, one's more wrong, or whatever. But we all want what's best for our children, and we want what's best for the community. And right now we're a divided community that we need to be united. We need to just find that commonality, agree to disagree on some points, be able to listen and communicate effectively, and understand at times we're not going to necessarily agree with the decisions that some people make, but we hope the best result happens as a result. So
Okay, so let's talk about some specific things, and none of these questions are going to surprise you, probably things I hear about all the time. So let's start with one that I hear about too often. How long commenters are allowed to talk at school board meetings right now? It was a minute. In times past, pre-COVID, it was 3 minutes. A lot of people are saying that they'd like to bring that back. They feel like they can't articulate their thoughts. I made a joke in transparency on Facebook about how it seemed like the trustees and candidates also could not articulate their thoughts in 1 minute in the last forum. And so, what are your thoughts on that? Is that something we need to look at? If you were on the board, we need to look at moving that back to a higher time limit than what it is right now, or stick with where it's at.
Currently I'm in favor of keeping where it's at right now. One of the things in my preparation for running for this position, I watched every meeting that was posted. And I was amazed at how our amazing students, our scholars, were able to come and present their arguments or their public comments within that time frame in a clear and articulate manner. It was absolutely incredible. And so I look to them as inspiration that they can do it. Because one of the things is when the board meetings is if the actual item that is being commented on is not on the agenda, the board members are not permitted to respond to that. So it's not a forum setting. It's just a public comment section where they just come and they present people, taxpayers, community members, parents, everyone alike is able to stand there and present their comment, but they cannot necessarily engage because it's not on the agenda. Board members can, excuse me. And so with that being said, we need to have that understanding. And I think that's misunderstood, that the board members can't necessarily engage at that time. So my proposition is this: hey, let's get a forum. Let's have forums all across the district at various times of the day, different days of the week, where all parents have the opportunity to be able to come and state their piece and talk and engage, and where we can just listen to each other and talk about our concerns and what's impacting our communities and our schools. I think that would be a definite thing that I would really want to push as a board trustee, is to continue to engage and just get our community and parents more involved and try to unify us as a community.
So thank you for that. Last kind of scripted question before I dive into some of the questions parents sent in to me. Let's say you're elected, right? Best case scenario, you're elected, you're in position 7. First year, maybe 1, 2, 3 top priorities that you would hope to get accomplished in that first year as a school board member.
Top 3 things. Number 1, definitely community engagement. I definitely want to unify and bring our community together. I want to strengthen the voice of the silent, or not, or the I can't say silent majority, and also understand more about the vocal minority and really try to build consensus and a bridge between the two. Definitely next is school safety. Of course, that's always top priority, but definitely I think our approach is so divided that I definitely want to meet in the middle with regards to the community on how we approach school safety. And number 3, and it doesn't mean that it's the least important, but like our retention of our teachers, as well as educational support personnel. I think that's critical. Retaining them, paying them, loving on them, encouraging them, meeting all of their needs. Those are my top 3 priorities if I'm elected as board trustee.
Got it. All right. So you know already that I asked the community to send in questions, and I got way too many to ask you. So I wanna run through some of them, and I'm just gonna read them as they're written. Please, if they offend you, don't shoot the messenger
I
here.
won't.
But let's just run through a few of these here, and I'll start with maybe some that are a little more lighthearted, and then we'll kind of go up. So the first one, and again, I'm going to read this quote: "The school calendar stinks. Are you going to listen to what people post about the calendar? Maybe get a committee together to make a couple choices that could consist of teachers, parents, and the community members. Is this something that you would consider? Why or why not?"
Absolutely. That's why you guys are electing me, to be your voice. And so I think that is a very valid point. The current school calendar does not work for everyone in the community. However, we do have to I have to definitely hear from the community and see what will work best for the majority, maybe not necessarily all, but that is our goal, is to meet everyone in the community's needs. So absolutely, y'all know I'm down for meetings and community engagement and anything to hear and dialogue. Absolutely, I'm committed to that, and I'm asking you right now, whoever wrote the question, hold me accountable.
All right. Here's the next one. Paraeducators do not make a living wage. They make around 22,000 a year. They need to make at least 50% of what a teacher makes with the same experience. There's not really a question there, but thoughts on that?
I agree,
I agree.
1000%.
Simple enough. All right. Um, let's see. This one, getting into a little bit weightier things. We talked about safety, but I didn't bring this up, and that's my fault. This is the question. There is a drug/alcohol problem in our school district. What is your solution for this issue?
Again, oftentimes we students, adults, people in general turn to substance abuse to deal with or coping with mental health issues. That is why it is key and it's critical to attack that problem head on, behavioral and mental health, so we can curb some of the impacts of those issues where you turn to substance abuse, right? And so that I understand and I hear that that is a problem in our schools, and I am committed to educating about mental health, also talking about the dangers of addiction to substances and how it could impact the brain development and growth and overall well-being of our students in our district. So that is a very valid point. I'm very well aware of it, and I'm committed to help curb that issue.
Okay. Now there was two questions that actually had the same theme as the third point of your top three things you said you want to talk about, which was teacher retention.
Mhm.
And so one of the questions, there's two of them, was the difference between a teacher with no experience and a teacher with 30 plus years of experience is around $10,000 a year. What's your plan to keep experienced teachers? And then the second question, which is kind of on the same boat, was I have noticed that we have lost several teachers and staff members mid-year. What is your solution to that? So when you mentioned retention, what's the plan there? What can we do?
With regards to retaining, of course, we always want to look at compensation packages. But as I mentioned in our community forum, that it's more than just the money. Oftentimes, it's the support. It's looking at leadership, really diving in and trying to investigate the causes of them leaving mid-year. Is it because of leadership? Is it because the class sizes are too big? Is it because of some of the underlying behavioral issues of our students that have not been clearly identified? It's a really complicated situation that we really need to tackle. And we really, in order to retain the best as well as attract the best. With regards to pay, I'm always down for paying people more money. I think it is definitely critical that we pay people a living wage that they can live on and thrive on. And I'm committed to those things as well. But I really, really want to stress that it's not only our teachers, but it's our educational support professionals, our cafeteria worker, which includes our cafeteria workers, special technicians like our AC techs, things of that nature, as well as our bus drivers, cafeteria workers. I think we really need to take a closer look at all of those positions and their needs and try to meet their needs.
Let's talk about a couple more topics here. So I got a few questions around one particular school, Atascocita High School. A lot of questions around. I'm not going to read them all because there's a lot of them, but a lot of questions around the fights and the issues, and all the questions go down to one thing, which is overcrowding.
Mhm.
So, do you think that some of our schools are overcrowded? And if so, I mean, what do we do?
Absolutely. Short answer, yes, our schools are overcrowded. And that was part of my school safety initiative, or some of the platform items, is to kind of have a 2-year pause or moratorium. And the dog. I'm sorry, y'all. My dog is trying to get into the office. I have a 2-year moratorium on any type of zoning or flex zoning or anything in order to stabilize our enrollment. The southeastern part of our district is growing at a rapid rate. We are not completely built out like some areas of our district. So we really need to hone in on that, because the fact of the matter is this: our schools are overcrowded, especially at Atascocita High School. There are a lot of students. There's a lot of more students than there are administrative personnel. And so, yes, there's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of things that are going on there that we really need to get a hold of their enrollment and their numbers there, and maybe look at potentially rezoning or putting a pause to our current zoning practices in order to stabilize enrollment. And to get a better control over things. Absolutely. It's not only at Atascocita High School. Groves, I see you. I know you're struggling. I know you guys have a lot of kids there. Rich Creek Elementary, I know you guys got a lot of kids there. It's overcrowding. Autumn Creek Elementary, you're creeping up towards your capacity as well. I see you. I hear you. I know that this is an issue in the southeastern part. Centennial, not forgetting Centennial. I hear you. I see you. I know it's happening. So I am committed to actually helping to stabilize this. Also, Westlake. Sorry, Westlake Middle as well. It's like it's popping up in the southeastern part of our district. And so we see it. I see it. I hear you. I know it. I've experienced it. My kids were in Portable City. I say it's Portable City. 6th grade was all out in portables. 4th and 5th grade at Fall Creek Elementary, we're all out in portables. I see it. I know it. It's a problem, and I'm committed to help solve it.
Thank you so much for that. Now, I'll be honest, I could keep reading parent questions all day because the list just scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. My finger runs out of energy before I run out of questions. But I really want to say I appreciate you answering all the questions that you did. Before we kind of wrap up here, I asked you a lot of questions. Are there any topics that maybe I didn't ask about that you'd like to address before we wrap up?
Yeah, the topic that I kind of just really want to stress is just more so the bullying aspect, definitely, and how it impacts our district as a whole. I really do think that we have a serious problem on our hands, and I do think it also stems from mental health, but we do have a significant bullying issue in our district. And so the parents that have spoken to me, I hear you and I appreciate you coming to me and sharing with me your struggles. Also to the LGBTQIA community, I thank you for coming to speak to me about some of the issues that your students are facing. I want to make sure that I am clear that I am a board trustee, or if elected to be your board trustee, I'm committed to serving everyone's needs, every student, making it's a safe place, Humble ISD a safe place for absolutely every single student. And family in this district. So I wanted to thank everyone who just took the time to come and meet with me at like Mod Pizza or some of the other places where I'm meeting the community and just out and about. Thank you for sharing your struggles with me. I've internalized them. I've learned from you, and I appreciate you sharing that. And I really want to encourage parents to continue to do that. If you see me at the Walmart, come, hey, Miss Natalie, y'all come and talk to me. Students, if y'all see me, say hi. I'm gonna say hi to you, and just really engage with me, because I am committed to knowing and learning from you, and including our students. Let me piggyback off of the students as well. Students, I really want to hear from you as well. We are making decisions for your education, so I'm committed to hearing and learning from you as well. So that's one of the things that I really want to drive home is I try to be as personable as I can. I try to just, love on everybody and just try just to meet everybody where they are. And I'm committed to serving everyone's needs.
Well, thank you so much. Now, if someone watched this and they liked what they heard and they want to find you, find out more about you, where do they go?
Well, you can go to my website. It's www.carterforhumbleisd.com. You can also find me on Facebook at Carter for Humble ISD. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram as well, Carter for Humble ISD. And I am super excited and honored to engage with you. I am not shying away from any conversation at all. Large, small, hard, easy. I'm here for you. And I'm committed to that.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Natalie. I really appreciated you taking the time, answering all the questions. I know they're not all super fun to answer. So thank you for your time, your engagement, being willing to meet with me. And I can't wait to talk to you and see how the rest of your campaign goes. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.